On a Saturday morning, an Arab Muslim mob raided the village. They raided the village and looked for the rabbis and chained them to the door and killed them after 2 hours of torturing them. They found babies and beheaded them. The baker, every Jewish little community has a baker because of the challah bread on Friday night and so forth. It's a part of the Jewish community lifestyle. They pushed alive into his own oven. At the end of this brutal attack, when 67 people were murdered in this little village, Arab Muslim women came after the mob and looted and took jewelry and valuables from the homes of those that were scattered all over the floor dead. This happened on August 24, 1929, in the city of Hebron, the city of our forefathers, where Abraham, Sarah, and Jacob are buried, where the Jews, through our father Abraham, purchased the deed to the land. Was offered as a gift by Ephron, you all know that. But Abraham refused to receive the gift. He wanted a deed, a note of ownership. That one single act is the whole reason why we are there. Nothing else. There are nicer places than Israel. We are a people with a purpose. We are a people with a destiny. We are a people of a mission that is known to all mankind for thousands of years. I always say it's how God knew not to put too many riches in the soil of Israel, like oil and diamonds and things like that. Yeah, every country in the world has them. Here, Canada, South Africa, Russia, magnesium, titanium, cobalt, oil, gas, everything. In Israel, sand and sunshine. And why is that brilliant? Because it's the proof we're not there because of the riches. Simple. Very simple. We're there because this is our place. And for thousands of years, Israel was the homeland, an ancestral homeland by birthright of the Jewish people, and Jerusalem was the city of the Jewish people. And no one contested that, and no one argued with that, until Islam came to the world. And in modern times, the Arab propaganda and the machine of lies and deceit, which is a part of that culture, it comes from the Quranic writings. Deceit is a major element in how business is done. And what this has amounted to in the past 100 years is one of the biggest identity thefts, I call it, of all times. Palestinians have nothing to do with the people who call themselves Palestinians. Palestine was the name of the Jews of Israel until 1940, actually until 1965, when Arafat so brilliantly just called himself a Palestinian and took a picture with the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the background. On that day, the Al-Aqsa Mosque became holy to Islam. In the 9th century, when Muslims, in the 11th century, when Muslim, wealthy, very religious people renovated the mosque in Jerusalem, there were muftis and important Muslim sages who said that this is a mistake because it takes from the real holiness of Mecca and Medina. Yeah? Little did they know, Jerusalem is not even mentioned once in the Quran. Muhammad never been to Jerusalem. Everybody knows that. But it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And this rhetoric of lies and deceit and identity theft, the Jews were burned, half of them. Let's say that the Jews are committing a genocide. Think of the pattern. The Jews return to their homeland. Let's call it occupation. The Jews are proud of settling the land because their God told them to. Let's call it the settlements, the problems of all times. It's a mindset to play you, us, Western civilization. All these things are always done by making the West feel guilty for all sorts of things it never did. Plain and simple. This is more simple than it sounds. It's not an occupation, it's not an apartheid, and it's not the settlement. It's a culture of what is mine, and what is yours will be mine. That is the culture that's driving all this. The October 7 attack, on a Saturday morning also. There's a reason why it happens, these things on a Saturday. In 1929 and 4 months ago. Because that's when Jews feast. That's when Jews either go to the synagogue and pray or spend some family time. It's a time of a spiritual, doesn't matter how religious or not you are, this is a time where every Jew's heart is in a reflection of family and God. Everyone in his own way. And that's always when they choose to attack. They attacked in Yom Kippur in 1973. They attacked on Simchat Torah. You know, the day, that Saturday morning, that specific Saturday when the attack was the day that the Jews finished reading the Torah. Every year we finish the Torah scroll and then start all over again. The Shabbat, the weekend on which the Torah is finished reading and starts again, is a big festive celebration. We rejoice in the Bible that was given to us as a nation. That's when they attack. So many examples over centuries that this is when and how they choose. The atrocities, I'm not a native English speaker, so I'm not sure I'm using the right word, but the festive, spectacular production of torturing people, of people walking with heads of children. This is 4 months ago, not 1929. Of women being raped while being stabbed with knives by the person raping them. It's horrible for me to say these things, but you need to hear this. These are just the things I can say. It's the same DNA. It's the same culture of not accepting anything but your own self. Anywhere in the world, by the way. Look at 9/11. People think this is Israel. It's convenient for you. It's convenient for Europeans. It's convenient for the Western civilization to look at the Middle East as, you know, I just can't figure all of that out. They're just at each other's neck. It's easy to take that back seat and look at, let them fight, what can I do? Yeah, I support it. You ask me, good guys, bad guys, I'm on Israel's side. That is the biggest danger to your freedom. Because 9/11 had nothing to do with Israeli occupation. That doesn't exist. 9/11 had nothing to do with Israel committing a genocide, which Israel never did. 9/11 and Bataclan in Paris, the massacre, and Charlie Hebdo, the magazine. You remember all these things. They're all by Islamists. And by the way, I'm not Islamophobic, and I don't hate Muslims, and I know more Muslims than any Americans in a group put together. I live with Muslims. 20% of the Israeli society are Arab Muslims, most of them wonderful people. I'm telling you. But these are not the ones who lead the Islamic world of today. Take a look at how many people are being killed in wars, and just in the past decade. All the Muslims who were killed in the past 10 years, all of them were killed by Muslims. I don't know what else needs to happen for people to understand, not that Israel is right and correct on everything and on the good side, is that you are Israel for them. We are the small Satan. You are the big Satan. And these are things that normally, let them talk. We had Israelis like that also until 4 months ago. Let them talk. And the interesting thing is how they brand it. They play with our minds. How many Muslim organizations are there killing people deliberately with an ideology of killing the infidel? The small and the big Satans. France, England, America, and Israel. What is the difference? The difference is that Israel is surrounded by them. The difference is that Israel is a small, tiny enclave in the middle of an ocean of Islamic fundamentalism. That is the difference. You want to be their neighbors? You can imagine if Mexico was Iran, if Canada was Saudi Arabia, you would not live like this. And the names are great. Hezbollah, Al-Aqsa Martyrs, Azzedine al-Qassam, Islamic Jihad, Islamic Brotherhood, Fatah, PLO, Al-Qaeda, ISIS. I can go like this for another hour. Some of them are Sunni. Some of them are Shiite. All of them want to kill you and me. And I'm not confused. We're the same. They kill each other in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Libya, in Algeria, in Tunisia, in Saudi Arabia also. I understand the fascination with MBS. This shows the mediocreness of Western civilization at its worst. The fascination with MBS. Mohammed bin Salman, how nice, such a nice dress. One man running Saudi Arabia. And all the United States is busy with how to appease him. If he dies tomorrow from a heart attack, Saudi Arabia is another Iranian superpower that is Sunni. Like it used to be. With beheadings and with the sword and everything you've seen 10, 20, 30 years ago. Of chopping people's hands and stuff like that. He can modernize Saudi Arabia all he wants. We know who lives there. If there will be deep and real change, of course, we will welcome it. He doesn't want to get on board? Don't get on board. You're not doing anyone a favor. What is this obsession in Washington? To run after the Saudis all the time because of oil? You think they're going to have mercy on you if there's ever a conflict? And with Iran, everyone knows that the choking ring that was built around Israel, we're talking about a radius of what's not 500, 800, or 1,000 miles away, which here is just the distance between two counties. We're talking on our fences. Hezbollah is on the fence. Until this war broke out, I could have taken you to Metula or to Rosh Hanikra. These are towns on the upper northern border of Israel. And you could see the distance from here to this wall, in between a fence called the border between Israel and Lebanon. And the Hezbollah guys are right there where this wall is, waving. This is the distance between us and the enemy that is now shelling our cities. And people in Washington give us advice how to handle that. And they have a very creative idea. Give them a state. This is the equivalent of Americans saying after 9/11 that now that we chased Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, thank you, well, maybe we should give him a state in the Rocky Mountains. Enough of those wars. Enough of those wars. Don't you want peace with Al-Qaeda? This is what America is doing to Israel. Exactly. Republicans and Democrats. Let me remind you, the Abraham Accords are calling for the establishment of a Palestinian state. A Palestinian state is another Al-Qaeda, another Hezbollah, another PLO, another Al-Aqsa Martyrs, another Tanzim, another Fatah, another PLO, with a license to kill. That's all it is. And just like Mr. Bickel inspired me to say, my calling is to prevent that at all cost. I don't know what I'm running for as far as politically, but I'm going to do everything I can, including a political position in Israel, to stop the insanity of how we're handling this crisis. We cannot sit all day and torture ourselves over how to appease our enemies. Our enemies have to be eliminated, destroyed to dust. Plain and simple, and at all costs. This is a language that is the break-up line in our culture. What do you mean at all costs? I'm not willing to win at all costs. You know what? It's in our minds, because we are on a different operating manual. But it doesn't work. That manual doesn't work. You didn't negotiate with the Third Reich. Why are you negotiating with the Fourth Reich? You destroyed the Third Reich. Why are you offering a state or sanctions or all sorts of gains to the Fourth Reich, which is this Islamic empire that Iran and Saudi Arabia managed to build all over the world, not only in the Middle East? And there are thousands of Muslim soldiers in America, many of them are American citizens, using your democracy to duplicate. Is this on tape? Very good. To duplicate and to mimic the October 7 attack in the western Negev villages in Israel will happen here. A spectacular performance of butchering people, beheading, raping, and killing that will shock the homeland defense systems of this country. And unfortunately, some of our leaders have contributed to this also. I'm not blaming here America for all the wrongdoings in the Middle East. Most of it is the weakness and the opportunism of our own leaders. I think that the most major first mistake There were many mistakes before, but a strategic one that redesigned the landscape around us was the Oslo agreements. To take the world's most successful terrorist that ever lived, Yasser Arafat, and to give him a Nobel Peace Prize for killing people, hijacking airplanes and blowing up buses, for killing hundreds of Americans and thousands of Jews. And to celebrate on the White House a deal that everyone knows will not work is a crime. Everyone knows it will not work. September 13, 1993 was a fictional celebration of a peace treaty that no one believed in. Not the CIA, not Bill Clinton himself, and not Rabin, that thought that maybe he will be able to deal with the bad sides of the deal. Who does a deal that you already think how to deal with the bad sides of it? And Yasser Arafat, on the point that Rabin and Clinton gave him a hand and pulled him from his hiding hole in Tunisia and made him a Nobel Prize winner with a diplomatic immunity, is now sitting in Ramallah, back then, ordering on the phone where to blow up buses and cafes and hotels across Israel. And Rabin said that these people that are being killed are the victims of peace. I love Rabin. Rabin is one of Israel's greatest patriots ever. But he fell in that terrible, terrible trap. Where is Clinton today? Clinton should come to Jerusalem next week and apologize. And apologize. At least say something. Admit that you are the best man of a party that you created with the devil. And you knew it in your heart. Because we are naive. We like to believe in hope. But we're not stupid. In the morning when I speak, I normally have notes, because otherwise I don't know what I'll say. I think I want to end my presentation with a few thoughts, and I'll try to be brief. First of all, we are being played by a new culture, not so new, but recent, the social media effect. This has a devastating factor on our mindset, on our societies, and on our future generation. Now, there's nothing to do about that. There's nothing to do about that. No one is going to close Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. The algorithms are going to stay there, and they're going to give you the news you want. They're going to continue to make you and him separate, because he'll get the news he wants. You also, the movies about it and the articles about it, and this subject is more or less known today to most people. Social media is a venomous, it's poison in the Western civilization. And there is nothing to do about the social media. But there is a lot to do against the results that is, the damage that it's causing. And the answer to that, as we see the sinking of Western civilization in front of our eyes, this is really the subject of this meeting. Not what they're doing to us. It's us not defending ourselves. The enemy has a role, always, to be an enemy. What are we doing with that? How are we galvanizing and strengthening our society, our future generations, to be immune or better protected from that. And the first thing I think, and now I'm talking from my standpoint in Israel and the Israeli society, you decide how much of that applies to the American landscape. First of all, I don't know anymore left and right. It's a rule I made myself. I know an Israeli patriot, period. Republican, Democrat, you call it here, are not enemies. The unity of our society, our ability to confront differences, our ability to take the hand of the one that thinks differently than us and work together towards mutual goals is the primary condition for the survivability of the Western civilization because of the social media and because our enemies don't have social media. It's very important to understand that the dramatic difference that is happening in dictatorships where they can shut or alter or even shape the algorithms to their own people, where here everything is open. And what do you see as the result? Qatar, where you are holding one of the largest army bases in the world, costing you billions a month, is the country that paid Hamas to do what they did in Israel. It's the country that bought your Ivy League universities and poisoned its board of directors. Today, if you are a Jew in America and you come from an affluent family, you have no chance to make it to Harvard. This is insane when 20% of the students there are on scholarships from Arab countries. This is the reality. And now a little bit of a scandal. She resigned, the other resigned. I don't get the impression that there is a deep clean out of the corruption in the American campus. It's corruption. No one can stand the sums of money and the power that, by the way, Saudi Arabia started that 10, 15 years ago, and Qatar took it to a whole different level. They just buy everyone. They buy the Olympic Games, they buy FIFA, they buy soccer tournaments. They are working to destroy Western culture from within by Westerners. If you're a professor in university and you're begging your federal government or your donors for money, and suddenly someone comes and says, here's 10 million for your research. And a year later, here's 5 million for your research. And a year later, here's 2 million for your research. And then they come and say, would you please write an article against Israel? We're just asking if you would. Oh, sure. And that's how you have BDS, and that's how you have occupation, and genocide, and apartheid, and settlements, and all these things are working. They are in front of our eyes. So instead of wasting time on telling the left wing or the right wing how bad they are, it's time to create a national consensus on the few things that we must adopt in order to withstand these threats internally, domestically, and globally. The second thing is to get out of the appeasement culture. And this has been a part of American foreign policy for decades. It's not Obama or Trump or this guy or that guy. It's your culture. This is how you do business. When will you stop? When I speak in Israel, I tell them when I speak about American foreign policy, I say, there's a briefcase that's about 70 years old. Israel is 75 years old. A few years after Israel was established, there was a development of this mutation of the mind, of American obsession with brokering peace. And there's a briefcase. And the briefcase has not changed and is collecting dust and rust since the 40s and 50s. The only thing that changes is the Secretary of State that carries it, the President who sends him. In the briefcase is one message. What is Israel willing to give to its enemy in return for a peace that no one believes in? This is you guys. Always, for 60, 70 years. And let me also say, it's important to mention also, and I think every Israeli feels this, we have a huge debt to America, a huge debt. It came in the 40s, unfortunately later than it should have, much later than it should have. We lost half of our people in the ovens in Auschwitz, as you know. Half of our people. By someone who didn't trick anyone. He wrote a book. He said what he'll do, and he did it. Just like Iran now. It's a nuclear program to wipe out Israel. Dictatorships and bad guys never hide their plans. They're all out in the open. And somehow America does 1 + 1, gets 3.7, and goes ahead to broker peace between Israel and its enemies. I think we should apply Israeli sovereignty over the Jordan Valley and Judea and Samaria. I think we have to reset and recalculate our defense approach. Israel should not and cannot ever again have an enemy on its doorsteps that it takes more than a week or two to destroy completely. That's all. We're too small, we don't have shoulders, we don't have margins, we don't have the resources to fight a war like we are fighting now. This is Israel's longest war by a terrorist organization that has dug tunnels under the ground and is already holding us with Hezbollah in the north to a war that I don't know when will even end. This, once it's stabilized, can never happen again, and I suggest to your country to pay more attention to what happened in Israel beyond feeling sorry for us and supporting us. It's very important, and every Israeli feels the warmth, the love, and the support that we're getting from the American people, from all sides. But I recommend to you that you take the October 7 event as a model and try to apply it on America, and then apply 20 or 30 different think tanks to imagine every possible scenario that you couldn't even imagine in your life that's coming at you. This is coming at you. And you should all be ready, Democrats, Republicans, every American patriot. That's the only test. I don't care what party you're from, like I don't in Israel. I care whether you call yourself Team Israel. And if you guys are Team America, and I know you are, this is what you need to do now, is to map out every enemy America has and destroy it now. Because if you won't, it will destroy you. On this happy note, I wish you a pleasant presidential race. You know, Israel is legendary for political arguments and contesting and wheelings and dealings. It's nice to come to a country where everyone is so united and on the same page. I really like that. But on a serious note, I want to also say again, your support, your prayers in material and in moral support and in the diplomatic arenas around the world is appreciated. is helping us a lot to deal with this problem. And I want to thank all of you for praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Good luck to all the candidates. I know it warms my heart to know that you're all united on not only your love for your country, but for your love for our country as well. Thank you and God bless.